Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Isabel Garcia. I'm your host of Parenting Plus. In this series, we do a deep dive into topics impacting moms, dads, kids, and families of all shapes and sizes. And I'm honored to have a few guests with us here for this installment. First off, we have Debra Ross, a publisher with KidsOutandAbout.com. And then we also have Mike Kaput with SmarterX AI. Thank you both so much for taking the time to join me today.
Glad to be here.
Of course. And so the topic we're going to be talking about, and I'll put this up on everyone's screens too, is called Parenting in the Age of AI. And so I'm really eager and excited for this conversation just to talk about such a topic that really impacts anyone and everyone across the globe, really. But just, start of the year, January 2026, and really just the one that parents like myself are definitely concerned about and eager to kind of dive deeper into. And so, Mike, I wanted to start with you, but can you just give us an overview of what exactly, if you wanted to start to what, SmarterX AI is, and then just what AI in general kind of entails overall?
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me. So SmarterX is what we call an AI transformation company. So we're based in Cleveland, Ohio, and we've been around for a number of years helping companies basically approach and actually take action with AI. So we teach people through education and events how to get more out of AI, non-technical people in every industry, every department, every role, how to actually embrace this technological change, this revolution that we find ourselves a part of. So as part of that, a big thing that we talk with people about is, what is AI? What do you actually need to know about this, right? So there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of noise, a lot of headlines. So if you're a parent out there like I am, what we kind of approach it at is saying, look, AI is the science of making machines smart. That definition comes from a guy named Demis Hassabis, who is the CEO of Google DeepMind. He's one of the top people in AI today building this technology. And what that really means is that the software we all use every day, the stuff that we use to work, to learn, to communicate, to find information, it's developing the ability to actually think, converse, create, understand, and reason. So AI as a technology, as a field of research, has been around for honestly 70 plus years in one way or another. Like, you don't realize that you've been using AI way before ChatGPT to quietly power a lot of the stuff in your life, like Netflix recommendations, your social media feed, email filters. That's all machine learning, which kind of made predictions based on data. That was AI. What really changed, though, which is why we're here and what everyone as a parent is thinking about, is ChatGPT, right? November 30th, 2022, just a little over 3 years ago. For the first time, we now had what we call generative AI, which is anyone could go to a chatbot and have a very natural sounding conversation with intelligent machines. So it becomes approachable. This is not just a research topic or something for data scientists or machine learning engineers. It's something your kids can just go chat with for free. Yes. So the whole point here is that this accessibility, this democratization of this technology we've had for a while, and this new format of having it, means that your children, for instance, are going to grow up in a world, they already are, where AI is woven into everything, like how they learn, how they work, how they create. The question is not whether or not they're going to use it. They already have, they've already encountered it. So our whole thing is, look, we need to learn to use this and approach this as a very powerful, potentially in some cases dangerous, potentially in some cases wondrous tool. It is not magic, it is math, it is technology. So it sounds like there's a lot of science fiction around AI, right? But I'm here to assure you, while things are getting very science fiction in terms of what we are developing and what is coming out in the world, AI is not the Terminator. This is not self-aware robots running amok. Like, it is an extremely powerful set of technologies and tools, ultimately in the hands of people. And like any tool, it can be used well, it can be used poorly. our job as parents is to help kids use it well to serve them, not for them to serve
Yes.
it. So that's kind of what our, in a nutshell, how we start to approach this subject looks like.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for all that context, Mike. And I think that it's, an interesting facet. You put the kind of juxtaposition of like, kids are already growing up in this world, interacting with it. My two kids will see stuff online now and they'll be like, oh, that's AI. Like they're, interested and eager to learn about it and kind of understand the, differences and what it's doing, what it is, and in tangible ways. And Deb, I wanted to go to you next just to talk about, this topic and concept, and especially when it comes for the fear from parents and just there's that just natural technology gaps when it comes to the generational gap as well.
Sure. And I think that one of the things that parents are confronted with first is the potential for their kids to cheat at school. And when we think about this, I mean, kids have been cheating at school for forever, and that's always been an issue. One of my goals as a parent was for my kids to see their education as being for them, not for being for the grade or for the teacher or whatever. And so my attitude to them is, I do not care what grade you get. I care that you know stuff, that you have all doors open to you when you're 18 so that you could go on to your future to do whatever you want. And that entails not cheating. Now, my kids they didn't grow up in the age of AI, right? They're in 24 and 26. And so there wasn't that incredible temptation to have if you're going to get something else to write your paper for you, you had to go and pay somebody to do that back in our day and even in my kids' day. But now you don't need that. And so the temptation to give away your brain, to cede your thinking to something else, first of all, has never been easier, or the temptation's never been higher. But it's actually never been more dangerous than at a time like this, because being somebody who knows things and who can use these tools is so much more powerful for your future and important for you as you're growing up than if you give away your brain, don't learn anything, let your appearance of knowing things be you're cheating your very own self. And I worry deeply about there being this big bifurcation in society between people who know things and who use this well to know things, learn things faster, learn more things, have efficiency, and people who are just like, okay, well, guess that's the robot's going to keep me happy. And I think that's a huge danger, even though it's very sort of abstract, but I think it's here already.
Yes, absolutely. And there's, so much research out there, and, we've covered stories. I've, had the opportunity actually to talk with a CEO of the British American Watchdog Group that had done a study about, teens use and, AI. And we know that obviously they're interacting, and the dangers and the safety protocols that obviously should be in place that are not necessarily always up to par. But in terms too, and I think that fear, at least for me, I will admit 2025 was the year I actually downloaded and like fully engaged with ChatGPT just to say like, I got to dive into this and understand what it is. And it's interesting, where it's like, you can kind of see and demonstrate, as someone that was very, very wary to take that step to interact with AI, willingly, but to say, oh, okay, like if I wanted to make a meal plan, how can I phrase this question, in an efficient manner? And then, it's interesting to see, oh, that's a good question. And it's like, whoa, oh, okay. It's like actually giving an opinion about my question. Like that's really fascinating on that level. But I guess like when it comes to parents and being able to even have the conversation about the topic itself. I know there's some programming out there. I believe it's like Into the Cloud on PBS, things like that's starting to teach kids about just the language and vocabulary that they're going to need, in this next stage. But how do you understand and teach your kids about AI and safety around AI if you are fearful of engaging with it and don't fully feel like you understand it? And how can you kind of break that conversation?
So I have a great cop out here because my son is 19 months old. So, but however, I have to I have to already be thinking about this, right? Because we are getting to a point where, no joke, as a relatively new parent, I use AI to inform what I need to know and what I need to research. I'm not taking parenting advice at face value from AI.
Right.
Don't worry, everyone can calm down in the comment section. But this is already my new normal in terms of someone who works in AI and actually is using these tools to hopefully benefit their life and their family, this is going to be a new information and interaction environment for any child. And there's already, and Deb can speak to this far better than I can, but there are already kids in school that this is transforming their day-to-day experience for better and for worse. So we need to start as parents right now simply engaging with it, I think, is really the takeaway for me, is simply use the tools for yourself. Try to understand as best you can in the context of your life what they can do, what they can't do, what the dangers are, what the opportunities are, and also start to have a conversation with your children about what these tools are and how they're going to start impacting their life. Now, that can seem like really weighty and a big topic, but one step at a time. The first step is simply, like you said, Isabel, like trying them out for yourself, trying the tools out for yourself, understanding what we're working with, and beginning to approach it as technology, not as kind of let's get afraid or ignorant of it. Let's start actually engaging with this technology.
Interesting.
Yeah, so kidsoutandAbout.com did a survey in November and about parents and how ready they feel to help their kids. And only 5% said they feel they do feel ready. They feel confident in their ability to guide the next generation. So there's a gap between their awareness of AI and their ability, their sense of their own ability to engage with it and teach their kids and guide them in such a way. I think one of the first things that parents can do is to help their kids understand that there's a difference between machines and people. Now, that sounds completely obvious, right? But when you're talking with ChatGPT in voice mode, that sounds like a real person. And with inflection and emotion, and it's so tempting if you're a kid and it sounds like an adult too.
Right.
So kids see adults as having authority in a way that even adults to adults don't. We have a kind of healthy skepticism about it, and we've grown up without knowing that that's not a person, but it doesn't necessarily sound that way to kids. And so that's one of the first things, that's the first kind of conversation to have, because you can't have an emotional relationship with a machine, but it's really easy to trick yourself into thinking that you do.
And I've seen there's research out there about, the increase of, people and adults, in particular, but I'm sure, to the younger generation, essentially utilizing, AI infused, chatbots, as therapy sessions. But, to your point, knowing, and to your point back at the beginning, Mike, that this is ultimately human made still, and there's still people and businesses behind it, and, motives behind it, really, in the engagement and use and a kind of expansion of it. And that's really fascinating, though, Deb, in terms of just, for a snapshot for our community here in Monroe County in New York, just how not prepared parents really feel. And I totally feel that sentiment, and I feel like just kids in general just, adapt to new things so quickly and kind of seem to just kind of get it, right? Where it's like, oh, you hand it. I remember when I was still pregnant with my first, that, I would see the videos online where it's like, oh, look at this kid just knows how to use an iPad. That was the big fascination, right? Was kids know how to use the touchscreen things. And now it's like, okay, well, I've seen the discussions, and some of that study from that watchdog group was saying that kids sometimes won't even get dressed without engaging with ChatGPT and say, oh, this is the mood I'm feeling and what should I dress today type deal, like the opinion questions. And so I guess when it comes to just being able to take that leap, or if you don't know where to start, what are some resources out there, and, in terms of being able to help parents feel more confident in taking that step?
I mean, one of the things to do is just literally to go to ChatGPT online and say, you always put the context. So you say, I am somebody, this is the very first time I'm ever engaging with chat. Here's who I am. Here's my level of education or my interests, or like, here's my context. How do I use you? Tell me ways to use you, and it will educate you.
That's really cool.
From where you are. And that's unlike any tutor who you've ever encountered, right? Because the chat can go right to where you are and start asking you questions so that you fill in the context, and It'll say, well, what kinds of things do you want to do? One of the things that every parent feels is overwhelmed always in this world. And part of it is keeping track of so many different kinds of details.
Yep.
Well, that is where large language models like ChatGPT or Gemini can really help you just basically talk at it with all of the things you need to do and say, I don't know how to organize all of this. I don't know how to organize my time. I don't know how to organize my resources. Let me just talk to you for a while. And yeah, that's a little like therapy. But if you keep it in perspective,
Right.
ask it to organize things for you and give you new ways of sorting through all of the details in your life.
Interesting. And, honestly, I appreciate, just being able to have conversations like this too. Just the awareness, I think, is so key. And so as you, to your point, Deb, just now mentioning, that you can ask for the help and the resources, but the overarching still theme is just knowing what exactly you're engaging with and participating in. So when it comes to in terms of being able to use it as a tool for kids, how can parents encourage kids to be able to then use it in an educational and helpful way? Mike, I'll go to you.
Yeah, so I think echoing what Deb was saying, I think encouraging your child to understand the fundamentals of what this technology actually is. It is not a separate, self-aware entity that you should be having a relationship with or engaging with like a human. It is an aid to your own brain. It's, I think they used the term back in the day of the personal computing revolution that computers were a bicycle for the mind, so AI is just augmenting what you've already got. So imagine you had a great, incredible tutor, educator, teacher, thought partner. That is how your child should approach AI. Anytime you have a question, anytime you have a problem you want to solve, not asking AI to think for you, but thinking with AI to solve it yourself. It's a great conversation partner in that respect. So I would say in terms of use cases, frankly, you can do almost anything with the right approach with AI, but any type of problem you're trying to solve, any type of thing you're trying to automate or do faster or better. If you're a kid, I think learning is just it's personalized, tailored learning, which is so nice. As growing up, I am sure everyone has this experience in some context. Like I would have classes that I loved in school, that I had the right teacher that really spoke to me. I had other teachers, unfortunately, that didn't really. So
Clicker, right?
right. So AI can be, with the right guidance, the teacher that your child needs in their own way of what they want to learn, the way they want to learn it. And that is a beautiful, really big opportunity for parents to work with their children alongside them and say, look, let's talk to AI about how you like to learn, what you like to learn, and let's work together to learn it.
I love that. Just using it as a vessel too, to incorporate even more. Deb and I talk about this, on previous podcasts all the time, but just really fostering that connection, not correction. Oh, you shouldn't be using this, or don't do that. What are you doing? It's, hey, how can we do this together? And maybe I can learn something too.
Yeah. Exactly. And in fact, there's a lot of the new math, which is not really that new anymore, but there's, math education changes all the time.
Yes.
And it's one of the banes of parents' existence, because the way they learned it isn't the way that's being taught now.
Yes.
Well, when you feed that context to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or your favorite one, and say, look, my third grader is learning to do, multiplication this way. I don't understand it, but here, let me take a picture of the workbook. Let me take a picture of the textbook. And you just upload that and say, I know how to do it in this one way. Can you teach both of us to do it in this other way? And it will do it. It is the fastest shortcut to your kid if they need to learn it in a certain way and they don't get it and they can't bring it home and you can't understand it and you're both in despair. You aren't in despair. You've got the perfect educator there.
The toolbox right there. That's fascinating. That is so great. Well, I really appreciate, all of this engaging conversation. That we have just a couple of minutes to be able to wrap up here. But in terms of, I guess, parting thoughts too, I wanted to circle back to the kind of undertone of what we were talking about earlier as well, with the concern of, AI in school, and just obviously the schools have now taken steps, especially in New York, to curb, cell phone use, things like that. So when it comes to, the skill set that kids now that are in school are going to need to have in the future. Everybody loves talking about the topic, but the, skill sets of the future, aside from critical thinking, that's kind of been like the big topical kind of overarching term that everyone uses in association, I feel like, with AI. But can you dive a little deeper into what we mean by that in terms of not giving your brain away and how to be able to still use that as a tool, but keep your brain,
sure.
if you will?
When parents connect well with their kids see themselves as future adults. And so helping your kid envision themselves as a future adult who has these tools at their disposal and is also knows how to write, knows how to do the math, knows how to sort through information, and knows how to distinguish true things from not true things, you paint a picture of them as being futurely powerful. And the more connected you could be with your kids, the more you can do that.
That's fascinating. Mike, any parting thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. So I can't echo enough what Deb said, but I think raising children as best you can, and I hope to do this as well, that always ask why. That is a question and a skill that is always going to resonate in the age of AI, because again, at the end of the day, these are tools, and the people that understand why we're using the tools and what we're using them for and how we're using them are the ones who are going to thrive moving forward.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to join us here on this chat. And we also want to thank you for joining us for this installment of Parenting Plus, and we'll see you again next time.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.